Hi students, welcome to our lesson on infinitives after certain verbs as well as adjectives and nouns. Our topic today will be citizenship, so let's go ahead and begin. Let's take a look at how infinitives are used in sentences after certain verbs. Take a look here at this sentence. U.S. citizens swear to pledge allegiance to the country. I want you to notice what comes after the verb swear. Notice that you have to plus base form verb. This is called an infinitive. Now, take a look at these other sentences and read them to yourself and decide what is the infinitive in these sentences. For example, on number 2, the U.S. government promises to protect its citizens. The U.S. government requires newcomers to take a citizenship test. Take a look at these sentences and identify the infinitives now in the video. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the answers. So notice swear to pledge, promises to protect, requires newcomers to take. We're going to be learning how to use infinitives after specific verbs and also after specific verbs plus objects. Let's do another practice activity with more example sentences. Take a look at these 3 sentences here. Citizenship allows you to vote and run for office. My uncle hopes to become a citizen soon. New citizen candidates need to complete an interview in English. Take a moment right now in the video to check which words are infinitives in these sentences. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the answers. So citizenship allows you to vote. My uncle hopes to become a citizen soon. New citizen candidates need to complete. These are all examples of infinitives after certain verbs and also after certain verbs plus objects. Now let's learn a little bit more about the use of infinitives after certain verbs. Certain verbs can be followed by an infinitive. Notice these examples right here. Take a moment to look at this sentence. I want to be a U.S. citizen. To be is the infinitive. Notice that it is to plus the base form of the verb. Take a look at this one. My cousin is preparing to take the test. Notice that verbs like prepare and want take infinitives, the to plus base form of the verb. Here are some more examples. My sister decided to apply for citizenship yesterday. So notice that decide always takes an infinitive. Here's another example. She tries to study English every night for the exam. Notice that decide and try are both verbs that will take infinitive forms after them. Here are some more examples. She is learning to answer questions correctly. She refuses to give up on her goal. Notice that learn and refuse are both verbs that take infinitive verb forms after them. Let's do some practice. Take a moment in the video to complete the sentences below with infinitives and interesting information. For example, yesterday I managed to apply for a green card. Now, take a look at these sentences here and put into the video a completion for these sentences and be sure to use an infinitive after it. right, let's go ahead and move on to another use of infinitives after objects. So some verbs require an object, which is usually a noun, a person, a place, or a thing, or a pronoun before the infinitive. So let's take a look at some examples. Some examples of verbs that require an object before the infinitive would be advise, allow, encourage, force, invite, remind, tell, or warn. Take a look at this example here. Our teacher advises us to take notes. Notice the use of the infinitive after the object. Objects, again, can be nouns or pronouns. Pronouns are like me, you, it, him, her, us, or them. Let's take a look at another example here. He doesn't allow students to get discouraged. Notice the infinitive after the object. Notice the use of advise and allow. Here are some more examples. My teacher tells us to pay attention. Notice the verb tell often takes an object followed by an infinitive. Here's another one. She warns students not to cheat. Here we have a negative infinitive. Notice that the not comes before the infinitive. Students, in this case, is the object. Now, what I want you to do is I would like for you in this video to complete the sentences below with infinitives and some interesting information. I want you to use objects where they are needed. So for example, Maria invited me to go to the citizenship ceremony with her. Notice the use of invite with object and then infinitive. Now, complete these sentences below here with infinitives or objects plus infinitives. Let's go ahead and talk about infinitives with or without objects. So some verbs can be followed by either an infinitive or an object plus infinitive. Let's look at some examples. Here are some verbs that could take either, but the meaning is different in the sentences. So he expects to get his certificate of citizenship soon. Notice that expect can take an infinitive immediately after it. That means that he expects to be the one to get his citizenship certificate. Look at the difference now between this sentence and this sentence. He expects USCIS to send it in the mail. In this case, we have the infinitive after the object. In this case, he expects USCIS to do something for him. All right. Notice negatives. We form the negative infinitive by placing not before the infinitive. Take a look here. USCIS told me not to miss the deadline to apply. So notice the negative before the infinitive. Here's another example. I try not to forget important information about U.S. history. Notice the not is placed before the infinitive. One thing to be careful about is the difference in meaning between a negative main verb and a negative infinitive. Take a moment to look at this sentence. USCIS didn't tell us to submit our visa. This is a negative verb, main verb here. That means that USCIS never said anything to you about submitting the visa. In this sentence, USCIS told us not to submit our visa. In this case, this is a negative infinitive, meaning that they don't want you to submit your visa. They did tell you something and they told you not to submit it. Now, what I would like you to do is form sentences with the verbs below. Use infinitives and use each verb twice. First without an object and then with an object. Here's an example. Expect. I expected to do well on the test. My teacher expected me to do well on the test. In this case, the teacher is expecting an object to do something. In this case, the subject is expecting to do something. Now, go ahead and complete sentences or write sentences for each one of these verbs. Notice the use of infinitive right after the verb, and notice the use of an object plus infinitive. All right, let's talk about infinitives after adjectives. Some adjectives can be followed by an infinitive. Here are some examples. She is motivated to get her citizenship soon. Here, motivated is the adjective and it is followed by an infinitive. In this case, he is afraid to travel without his citizenship. Notice the infinitive after the adjective afraid. In this practice, I want you to form sentences with adjectives below. Use infinitives after the adjectives. Here's an example. Reluctant. I am very reluctant to fill out a lot of forms. Notice the use of the adjective followed by the infinitive. Now, write sentences of your own using these adjectives followed by infinitives. Infinitives can also come after certain nouns. Notice these nouns right here. Here are some examples. She has permission to travel back to her native country. Notice the noun followed by the infinitive. Her dream is to become a citizen. Dream is the noun and to become is the infinitive. Now for this practice, form your own sentences with the nouns below. Use infinitives, after the nouns, not adjectives, but nouns. Take a look here, choice. I have the choice to interview on Zoom or in person. Look at the nouns here, numbers 1 through 4, and use the nouns followed by infinitives in a sentence of your own.